Jamendo.com. 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 Jamendo.com.
Morning and good evening, distinguished panelists and respectable ladies and gentlemen in the audience. On behalf of the members and office bearers of Human Rights Congress for Bangladeshi Minorities, I welcome you all to this UN Commission on the Status of Women 65 parallel event on the issue of violence against women in Bangladesh. This meeting will be chaired by Dr. Dhiman Chaudhary, president of the organization. Dr. Dhiman Chaudhary is a telecommunications network engineer, a product leader, and an author of books on engineering and management. But his passion is human rights advocacy, which he has pursued for the past 2 decades. Dr. Chaudhary, would you kindly make your opening statement?
Thank you, Dr. Bhattacharya. Good morning and welcome, everyone. I am Dhiman Chaudhary, and with me today, Dr. Dijan Bhattacharya, professor of Columbia University, who will moderate this event, Mr. Utsav Chakraborty, an architect and lifelong human rights activist, and Ms. Priya Saha, a social reformer, distinguished right advocate, and executive director of HRCBM. So the 65th session of the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women is the largest gathering on gender equality and women's rights, which inclusive of women's full participation in the public life, elimination of violence against women and girls throughout the world. Today, our session will focus on violence against women and girls in Bangladesh with specific attention on the plights of minority women and girls in Bangladesh. In 2006, HRCBM filed a public litigation highlighting hundreds of gang rape cases and continuing violence against country's minority community. However, despite court's favorable ruling, government has not taken any punitive action to arrest or prevent such occurrence of violence against community in general, in women and girls of minority community in particular. In this session, I would like to invite the speakers to discuss their perspective on the continuing violence against women and girls in Bangladesh in general and the said violence against minority women and girls in particular. We would also like to get speakers' recommendation on the mitigation of the situation, which HRCBM will submit as a statement to the government of Bangladesh and to the UN Human Rights Council and other institutions around the world. Having said that, let me take this privilege to invite Dr. Bhattacharya to moderate this meeting here onward. Dr. Bhattacharya.
I'm honored and thank you, Dr. Chaudhary. Ladies and gentlemen, our distinguished panelists are Mr. Shahriar Kabir, Advocate Rana Dashgupta, Mr. Salim Samad, Ms. Chanchana Chakma, Ms. Priya Saha, Mr. Shitangshu Guha, Mr. Pula Ghatak, Professor Chandan Sarkar, and Mr. Arun Datta. The panelists will make their presentations in the order I listed their names, and I will introduce them as I invite them to speak. We have 9 presenters and 70 minutes of time for presentation and recommendations. And then we have 10 minutes for questions and answers. Ladies and gentlemen, the month of March is Women's History Month. When the world is celebrating women for their contribution toward the development of human civilization, we here have gathered today to discuss the issue of violence against women in Bangladesh. This is because When it comes to violence against women in Bangladesh, it is an open season, 7/24, all the year round. Women are treated there as a commodity by many people, particularly women belonging to the religious and ethnic minorities or indigenous peoples are treated as expendable commodities. This human tragedy must stop. As you will hear it all from our panelists, in contemporary Bangladesh, violence against women take place every day in a myriad of forms. They include wife abuse by husbands, brutal torture by husband and their relatives for the bride's parents' failure to pay a handsome dowry at the time of marriage or paying additional dowry when demanded later, disfiguring women's faces by throwing acid when rejected, marital sexual violence following child marriage, wanton rape or rape as a pastime, selling women overseas or sex trafficking, abduction followed by gang rape and or killing or forcible conversion to Islam or forcible marriage with the rapist, which is done for the purpose of religious and ethnic minority cleansing. The factors driving this culture of violence in Bangladesh against women are religious views of women's role in men's life, general societal view of women's status in society, and the question of how much legal protection is there for women, not in theory, but in practice. Bangladesh government has unfortunately approved of a marriage act that allows parents to marry off their girls at any age, despite nationwide protests, apparently to appease the Islamists. Implementation of the laws that do exist that could reduce violence against women is abysmally low. There have been times we have seen 200 women raped at a single spot in one night. We have seen reports that 98% of the women violated are minorities. We know the history of 200,000 women who are used as comfort women or sex slaves by the Pakistani and their Bangladeshi Islamist collaborators in 1971. We have seen all of that. The perpetrators of such atrocities have issued statements saying that rape victims need not even try to file a case unless they have 4 eyewitnesses, and this view is popular in the country. Ladies and gentlemen, women in Bangladesh live in a war zone. Nobody knows whose term comes when, but this relentlessly raging, horrifying practice of violence against our sisters, our daughters, our mothers must stop. We expect to hear today analytical exposition of the problem, precise data, and possible solutions from our distinguished presenters. Our first presenter is Mr. Shahriar Kabir, who is a noted Bangladeshi journalist, a Bangla Academy Literary Award winner, author of 70 books, and a human rights activist. He was declared a prisoner of conscience by Amnesty International in 2001 for opposing state-sponsored religious and ethnic minority persecution in Bangladesh. Mr. Shahriar Kabir, please make your presentation.
Thank you very much, Dijan Bhattacharya. Since time is very short, let me focus on the particular one issue, that is rape as a tool of torture and intimidation, and focusing on the religious minorities. As you said, you have said vividly what happened in 1971 and repression on the women. It is not only taking place on the Hindus only or the religious minorities, it is also taking place for the Muslims. But why Hindus are targeted so often? There is a politics behind that, about the Hindu persecution in Bangladesh. Even now, just after half an hour, I'm going to attend an international conference on what happened in Sunamganj just 2 days back during the day of the Bangabandhu's 101th birth anniversary. So it is very painful. Since 1971, you can watch that there is a politics and the philosophy that prompted the persecution and repression of the religious minorities. That is that the agenda is very clear. They want a Bangladesh free from religious minorities, free from secularists. They want to convert Bangladesh into a monolithic Muslim country like Mullah Omar's Afghanistan or Ziaul Haq's Pakistan. So this is their agenda since 1971. They are pushing this agenda. But now we have a pro-liberation party or the alliance in the government. Why we are watching this thing, even when Sheikh Hasina's government or the Awami League is in power? The reason is very simple. One is that those people, the politics of Jamaat-e-Islami, Hifazat-e-Islam, or the fundamentalists, the religion-based politics, is very open and it is very legal in Bangladesh. Though in 1972's constitution, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman prohibited formation of religious or any organization in the name of religion. But that ban was lifted after his assassination by Ziaur Rahman. And since then, we are watching an alarming rise of fundamentalism, sectarianism, or what I said, simply the Pakistanization of our society and politics. And it is still continuing. So far as the legal part is concerned, well, this present government, they failed to protect the minorities, but they never denied that there is nothing is happening. What we have seen from 2001 to 2006, what you mentioned, at that time, BNP Jamaat was in power, and every time they denied from 2001 to 2006, when they put me behind the bar, they denied everything. They said that, well, Shahriar Kabir is presenting all the fabricated news. Nothing has happened. Nothing has happened to Purnima because somebody just said something to her. So this was the brutality, another kind of brutality, that denial of the crimes that encourage the criminals, that encourage further rape or further torture, further killing. But present government is not denying, but at the same time, they are not taking proper action against the perpetrators. That is one of the reasons it is still continuing. And since Hifazat and Jamaat-e-Islam, Jamaat-e-Islami, Hifazat-e-Islam, all these religious fundamentalists, they are doing their politics openly. And they, in the name of Waz Mahfil or religious gathering, they are spreading hate against women, then against other faith, people belong to other faith, or people belong to having other opinion. So this is a common practice in Bangladesh. So far as legal position is concerned, as you said, it is not the fault. 2 eyewitnesses are necessary if a victim goes to court to prove her, crime. The problem is that most of the rape victims, particularly belong to the religious minority. They are very vulnerable people. Mostly these cases incidents are taking place in the remote areas. They don't dare to complain against those powerful, comparatively, politically, socially, economically powerful rapists of the criminals. But whenever we come forward to support them legally, but there is no eyewitness. It is not possible during the when there is a social frenzy, when the communal atrocities is continuing in village after villages, and there you cannot find any witness there. That is one problem. And second problem is that doctor's report, visceral report, that is also very much needed according to our CRPC. Advocate Rana Dasgupta is there. He can tell detail on that. Observing all these limitation of our CRPC, that's why we suggested that there should be a new law in Bangladesh. We named it Religious Minorities Protection Law, and government agreed to enact that law. And even in the election manifesto of the Awami League, just before the election of 2018, both Hindu Buddha Christian Unity Council and Nirmul Committee addressed a joint press conference, and we asked the government, you have to enact Religious Minority Protection Law, at the same time Witness Protection Law, and there should be a separate Religious Minority Commission as well as separate Ministry for the Religious Affairs, Minority Affairs. But government agreed on 2 points. They said there should be one law, that is Religious Minority Protection Law, and the new commission, the Religious Minority Commission, apart from the Human Rights Commission. But still that is under consideration. It has not been implemented. So that is one major reason that victims are not getting justice. If victims are not getting justice, the perpetrators, they will commit this crime again and again. That is what we are seeing in Bangladesh. Bangladesh. And most important thing, this politics that prompts, encourage people to torture women. That is in the name of religion. Whatever these mullahs are saying in the Waz Mahfils, that is basically it is against anti-women. And when our Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina tried to enact a law with the women's, not a law, that is a women's policy. There was a national women policy she adopted in 1997, first time when she came to power. And when BNP assumed power in 2001, they repealed it. And again, she tried to reintroduce it, but the Hifazat Islam and Jamaat Islam, all the religious bigots, they strongly stood against it. They said, no, there cannot be such women's policy in Bangladesh that gives women equal right to their parental property and other things in every aspect of life. Though Bangladesh has set up a unique example of women empowerment, but the condition of women in general, definitely it is not up to the standard. It is quite, whatever is a matter of great concern. And we are fighting for that, rights of the women, rights of the minorities, and we have to keep on fighting. We have to create awareness, but at the same time, government must stop that kind of hate speeches. Repeatedly, we are asking governments that since we have adopted Section 57 of Cybercrime Act, but under Section 57, only the free thinkers are being arrested, only the Hindus are being arrested. The Hindu youths are falsely accused for that, but not a single religious bigots who are spreading hate against Bangladesh, hate against the spirit of the liberation war, or hate against even Bangabandhu. They are not punished. They are not arrested. Even today's Janakonto, I published an article about that, mentioning the Sunamganj incident, that in Sunamganj case, it is the Mamunullah who should be the number one, culprit. It is the Shoaib Ahmed, the Maulana, local Maulana, who was the main instigator of that incident. But well, police have arrested one guy, from the Jubo League, but well, they are the secondary, people are there. The entire attack was instigated by Mamunul Haq, but he was not mentioned in the charge sheet. His name is not again in the report. So that is the tragedy, that government is one way hobnobbing with these mullahs, and other way they are saying that, well, we have to keep up the spirit of the liberation war and we are celebrating, the golden jubilee of the liberation war. That is basically, it is against the spirit of the liberation war. What Bangabandhu said, what Bangabandhu did in 1972's constitution, that is what we are asking government to implement, that to follow the ideals of Bangabandhu and the spirit of the liberation war. That is secular humanism. That is our main target, and we have to create awareness among the people. It's a very hard struggle, but well, I'm hopeful. Definitely we won the liberation war. Definitely we will be able to, uproot this Islamic militancy or religious bigots from the Bangladesh. Thank you very much.
Mr. Shahriar Kabir, thank you for your valuable presentation. Then you mentioned particularly chose to speak about minority women, violence against minority women. The minorities of Bangladesh thankfully remembers how you made it possible, at least trial of the perpetrators of rape crime against one girl in Bangladesh, Purnima Shil. Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Mr. Salim Samad. Mr. Samad is a freelance journalist and a columnist who is currently a correspondent for Reporters Without Borders in Dhaka. He is well known for his courage to tell the truth, for which he had to live in exile for many years. Mr. Salim Samad, please make your presentation. Mr. Samad, can you hear me? Chair, Mr. Samad is muted. Can you try to unmute him? I'm trying.
Maybe we can go to the next speaker.
Okay, that's what we will do. So our next presenter is Advocate Rana Dashgupta. Advocate Rana Dashgupta is the Secretary General of Bangladesh Hindu, Buddhist, and Christian Unity Council, Bangladesh, and he is one of the prosecutors of the International Crimes Tribunal, ICT, of Bangladesh. He is also a freedom fighter. Advocate Rana Dashgupta, would you kindly make your presentation?
বাংলাদেশের যে পরিস্থিতি সম্পর্কে শাহরিয়ার ভাই যা বলেছেন তাতে কিন্তু আমাদের বক্তব্যটা একই। তেমন নতুন করে আর কিছু বলার এই মুহূর্তে আর আমাদের কাছে নাই। মাননীয় চেয়ারম্যান এবং সম্মানিত সঞ্চালক এবং আলোচক মন্ডলী, আজকের যে পরিস্থিতি, এই পরিস্থিতিটা যদি আমরা বিবেচনা করতে চাই তাহলে 1971 সালের যে ঘটনাগুলো হয়েছিল এবং এর মধ্যে আন্তর্জাতিক অপরাধ ট্রাইব্যুনাল কয়েকটি মামলায় হিন্দুদের উপর যে সেদিন গণহত্যা নৃশংসতা চলেছিল তার উপর যে রায়গুলো প্রদান করেছে, মামলার রায়ের যে অংশগুলো, আমি প্রথমে আপনাদের কাছে এগুলো একটু বলতে চাই। In Chief Prosecutor versus Mahmoud Mahbub Rahman, the tribunal observed in paragraph 17, in the war of liberation that ensued in 1971, all people of Pakistan are resolved supported and participated in the call to make their motherland Bangladesh free. But a small number of Bengalis, Biharis, other Pakistanis, as well as members of a number of different religion-based political parties, particularly Jamaat Islami and its student league, Islamic Chhatra Sangh, Muslim League Convention, Muslim League, joined and or culpably collaborated with the Pakistani occupation army to aggressively resist the conception of the independent Bangladesh, and most of them got engaged in committing and facilitating as well the untold atrocious activities directing the pro-liberation civilian population and Hindu civilians to further the policy and plan of annihilating the dream of self-determination of the Bengali nation. This is now a settled history of which this tribunal takes judicial notice as permitted by the Act of 1973 and the Rules of Procedure ROP. In the same case, it was observed, it was found by the learned tribunal in paragraph 17, the protected persons within brackets religious and ethnic groups staying territory of Bangladesh in 1971 had to experience dreadful and untold experience of criminal acts done even by the Rajakar Bahini alone as its loyalty to Pakistani occupation army, together with extreme antagonistic mindset to the war of liberation, made them culpably enthused in launching attack directing civilian population and the protected groups. The same view was supported in Chief Prosecutor versus Muhammad Muslim Pradhan and another. In this case, the accused person forcibly converted Hindu people of a village to Islam and then killed the Hindu men. Prosecution argued that forcible conversion is also genocide. However, the tribunal decided it as crimes against humanity. In Chief Prosecutor versus Liaquat Ali and another, 4 charges were brought by the prosecution for committing genocide upon Hindu populations of Habiganj and Kishorganj. The tribunal observed that the accused persons consciously, actively and culpably participated in accomplishing the crimes of annihilating the Hindu civilians and pro-liberation civilians. That mode of their participation was extremely antagonistic, and that they knowingly collaborated with the Pakistani occupation army in perpetrating the crimes of which they have been indicted. Accused Aminullah killed Hindu populace since he was antagonistic towards India, paragraph number 110, and then both of them, that is accused Yagatani and Aminullah, had the special intent to destroy the Hindu populace of their area, paragraph number 126. In Chief Prosecutor versus Riyazuddin Fakir and another, in paragraph 61, the tribunal observed, history says, Albotar Bahini and Rajakar Bahini, both were paramilitia forces, were created with the similar goal and objective, and it was annihilation of pro-liberation Bengali civilians, Hindu religious group, freedom fighters and intellectuals intending to cripple the nation. In charge 3, the accused persons not only killed 8 men, but also raped 3 women of Rishipara. They were found guilty of committing genocide. The tribunal added the pattern of attack by itself suggests the inference that the intent of the attack was to destroy the Hindu religious community in whole or in part. Rape was also considered as an act of genocide. Rape victim testified before the tribunal. The tribunal further observed it was not simple sexual assault, but sexual invasion, which was used as a tool with intent to destroy the Hindu community, constituting the offense of genocide. In Chief Prosecutor versus Samsul Tarokdar and 4 others, charge number 5 was for committing genocide upon Hindu population. The accused persons were found guilty. The tribunal observed that on total evaluation of evidence standard led to the conclusion that the accused persons remained at the crime site till the event ended in mass killing. The accused persons had acted as a pack of cooks in collaborating with the Pakistani occupation army with extreme ferocity in carrying out appalling activities directing the Hindu religious community of এই ধরনের জাজমেন্টের আমি আর অন্য ট্রাইব্যুনালের অন্যান্য মামলার এই অবস্থার উপরে যে অবজারভেশন গুলো আছে সময়ের বিবেচনা আমি একটা উল্লেখ করলাম। আমার প্রকৃত কথাটি হলো 1947 সালে যখন দেশ ভাগ হচ্ছিল তখন টোটাল বাংলাদেশের East Bengal and subsequent East Pakistan, the total minority population ছিল 29.7%. এই 29.7% সেখানে আমরা বারবার বলছি যে সরকার সেই সময়ে মাইনরিটি ক্লিনজিং পলিসি তারা গ্রহণ করেছিল বলে 1970 সালে যখন নির্বাচনের আগে minority population came down to 19 to 20%. তার মানে 9.7% পাকিস্তানের প্রথম 25 বছরে মিসিং হয়ে গেছে। এই 19 to 20% এর ভোট 1970 এর নির্বাচনে বঙ্গবন্ধু রাজনৈতিক দলের পক্ষে গিয়েছিল বলে বঙ্গবন্ধুর দল আওয়ামী লীগ became the majority party of then Pakistan. এবং অথচ পাকিস্তানের গোয়েন্দা একজন প্রসিকিউটর হিসেবে ইন্টারন্যাশনাল ক্রাইমস ট্রাইব্যুনালে অনেক গুরুত্বপূর্ণ তথ্য আমরা দেখার সুযোগ করেছি। আমরাও একসময় ভাবতাম যে 70 নির্বাচনটা কেন ওয়ান ম্যান ওয়ান ভোট, এটা এত নিরপেক্ষভাবে হলো কি করে? তখন হওয়ার পেছনে যে কারণটি পাকিস্তানের গোয়েন্দা বিভাগ এবং পূর্ব পাকিস্তানের সমস্ত ডানপন্থী দলগুলো পাকিস্তান সরকারকে এই মর্মে তারা বলেছিল যে আওয়ামী লীগ কেবলমাত্র 80 থেকে 83টি আসন পাবে, কিন্তু 19 to 20% এর ভোট একদিকে চলে যাওয়ার ফলে যে আওয়ামী লীগ became the majority of party of পাকিস্তান। এবং যখন অপারেশন সার্চলাইট সেখানে 5টি নির্দেশনা ছিল, সেখানে একটি নির্দেশনা ছিল যে হিন্দুদের নির্মূল ও নিশ্চিহ্ন। আজকে 20% তো ছিল আমাদের 70 নির্বাচনের সময়। আজকের বাংলাদেশের 2011 সালে যখন জনসংখ্যা ব্যুরো হিসেব দিল যে জনসংখ্যা নেমে এসেছে কাম ডাউন টু 9.6, তাহলে প্রশ্ন দাঁড়াচ্ছে যে পাকিস্তান আমলের পরিস্থিতি সংখ্যালঘুদের জন্য যাচ্ছে, পাকিস্তান হওয়ার পরে স্বাধীন বাংলাদেশে সেই পরিস্থিতির সরকার গঠন যারাই করুক পরিস্থিতির কোনো পরিবর্তন ঘটে না। যদিও আজ থেকে বছর খানেক আগে যে পপুলেশন স্ট্যাটিস্টিক্যাল ব্যুরো এক হিসাব দিয়ে বলল যে হিন্দুদের পপুলেশন 1.6% বেড়েছে, তাও যদি বাড়ে তাহলে পপুলেশন আমাদের যাবে 11.6। তাহলে প্রশ্ন হচ্ছে আমার 19 to 20% 11.6% নেমে আসলো কেন? এটার পেছনে আমাদের যে কথাটি যে 72 পর থেকে এই পর্যন্ত যে সময় আমরা সুবর্ণ জয়ন্তী উদযাপন করতে চলেছি, তার মধ্যে 30টি বছর আমাদের anti-71 ফোর্সেস এবং যারা ধর্মের ভিত্তিতে রাজনীতি করতে চায় এবং যারা সংবিধানকে পরিবর্তন করে পাকিস্তানি আমলে আদলে প্রত্যাবর্তন করিয়ে নিল, তারা ক্ষমতায় ছিল 30 বছর। এই 30 বছর ক্ষমতায় থাকার কারণে যে মানুষের মাইন্ডসেটের যেমন পরিবর্তন করা হয়েছে, আবার প্রশাসন থেকে সর্বক্ষেত্রে মাইন্ডসেট হ্যাজ বিন চেঞ্জ। আজকে বাংলাদেশের মুক্তিযুদ্ধের সরকার 10 বছর অনেকগুলো ইতিবাচক পদক্ষেপ গ্রহণ করেছে, কিন্তু মানুষের মাইন্ডসেট আজ পর্যন্ত পরিবর্তন করতে পারেন নাই বলে 15th অ্যামেন্ডমেন্টের মধ্য দিয়েও আমরা 72-এর কনস্টিটিউশনকে আমরা রেস্টোর করতে পারি নাই, যেটা শাহরিয়ার বানজেই বলেছে 72 সংবিধানে ধর্মের নামে রাজনীতি নিষিদ্ধ ছিল। বলেন আজকেও বাংলাদেশের সংখ্যালঘুরা হিন্দুরা তারা কিন্তু সেকেন্ড গ্রেডেড সিটিজেন হিসেবে আজও আছে। আজও বাংলাদেশের সংবিধানে এখন যে সংবিধান, এই সংবিধানে বঙ্গবন্ধু আছেন, এই সংবিধানে জিন্নাহ সাহেব আছে, এই সংবিধানে ধর্মনিরপেক্ষতা আছে, এই সংবিধানে ধর্মতন্ত্র আছে। এবং আমরা লক্ষ্য করছি এই সরকারের আমলেও আমরা পরিষ্কারভাবে লক্ষ্য করছি যে ঘটনাগুলো ঘটছে। আমি অতীতের ঘটনা বাদ দিলাম, কারণ anti-71 ফোর্সে তাদের একটি দৃষ্টিভঙ্গি আছে, রাজনৈতিক দৃষ্টিভঙ্গি, সেটা হচ্ছে মাইনরিটি পপুলেশনকে তাকে যদি ক্রমাগত কমিয়ে দেওয়া যায়, চাইলে পরে আপনার কনস্টিটিউশনাল পদ্ধতিতেও নির্বাচনী পদ্ধতিতেও তারা এমন একটি পার্লামেন্ট করতে পারে ইসলামিক পার্লামেন্ট অথবা ইসলামিক রিভলিউশন, 2 পর্যায়ে তারা গ্রহণ করে। মাইনরিটি ভোট যদি নির্বাচনের নিয়ন্ত্রণের ক্ষমতা থেকে প্রভাব থেকে ক্রমাগতই কমতে থাকবে, তাহলে আওয়ামী লীগকে আওয়ামী লীগে রাখা যাবে না। আওয়ামী লীগ উইল বিকাম দি আওয়ামী মুসলিম লীগ এবং বিএনপি উইল বি মোর রেডিক্যাল, এবং যে কারণে আমরা লক্ষ্য করছি শাহরিয়ার ভাই বলেছেন যে সরকারি দল তারাও কিন্তু হেফাজত বা অন্যরা যারা ডানপন্থী রাজনীতির প্রতিনিধিত্ব করছেন তাদের সাথে কিন্তু তারা গোপনে তাদের প্রত্যক্ষে পরোক্ষে এক ধরনের যোগাযোগ আছে। শুধু তাই না, এই anti-71 ফোর্সেস বা তাদের প্রেতাত্মারা আজকে যতগুলো ঘটনা হচ্ছে ইনক্লুডিং সুনামগঞ্জ, আওয়ামী লীগের লোকাল প্রেসিডেন্ট আছে তো, যুবলীগের প্রেসিডেন্ট আছে তো, ওই যে কুষ্টিয়ায় বঙ্গবন্ধুর ভাস্কর্য ভাঙলো সেখানেও আমরা কিন্তু বঙ্গবন্ধু ভাস্কর্য ভাঙে মাদ্রাসার ছাত্র আর বাঘা যতীনের ভাস্কর্য ভাঙে যুবলীগ। এই বাস্তবতায় আজকে রাজনীতি বিচারণ করছে। সরকারের দলের তরফ থেকে বারবার বলা হচ্ছে যে দলের ভেতর কাওয়া ঢুকেছে, দলের ভেতর পরগাছা ঢুকেছে, দলের মধ্যে আদর্শহীন ব্যক্তি ঢুকেছে। আমরা বারবার বলেছি এদেরকে চিহ্নিত করেন এবং দৃশ্যমান ভাবে তাদেরকে দল থেকে বহিষ্কার করেন। কই আজ কিছু দেখলাম না। দায় মুক্তির সংস্কৃতির সংখ্যালঘুদের ক্ষেত্রে অব্যাহত আছে। এর ফলে পার্টি তারা ক্রমাগত উৎসাহিত হচ্ছে এবং একের পর এক ঘটনা ঘটাচ্ছে। আজকে তারা সাহস করছে শাহরিয়ার কবিরের মাথা কাটা, আমাদের সেলিম সামিদদের গলা কাটা, এগুলো তারা প্রকাশ্যে বলছে। তারা 10 জনের বিরুদ্ধে ইনক্লুডিং মুনতাসির মামুন পরিষ্কার করে বলেছে অল অফ দেম আর মুরতাদ, এবং তাদেরকে হত্যা করাটা হচ্ছে জায়েজ। ওই যারা এই কথাগুলো বলছে এবং নিয়মিত আমাদের ইউটিউবে প্রচার করছে, আজ পর্যন্ত তো তাদের কারো বিরুদ্ধে আমরা আইসিটি অ্যাক্টে কোনো ধরনের আমরা তাদের অভিযোগ করতে দেখলাম না। যারা এই ঘটনাগুলো অব্যাহতভাবে ঘটছে তাদেরকেও আমরা দেখলাম না। আমি আজকে শুধু পরিষ্কার করে বলতে চাই, প্রত্যেকটি ঘটনার মূল লক্ষ্য হলো সংখ্যালঘু বিতরণ করা, জনসংখ্যাটাকে হ্রাস করা এবং বাংলাদেশকে একটি ইসলামিক রাষ্ট্রের দিকে, এটা নির্বাচনের মাধ্যমে হোক অথবা বিপ্লবের মাধ্যমে হোক, বাংলাদেশকে একটি ইসলামিক দিকে ঠেলে নিয়ে যাওয়া। এবং তাই যদি হয় বাংলাদেশ যদি আফগানিস্তানে ফিরে যায়, তাহলে পরে টোটাল সাবকন্টিনেন্টের পরিস্থিতি কি একবার ভেবে দেখবেন। 71-এর যে বাংলাদেশ আমরা স্বপ্ন দেখেছিলাম, আজকে এই স্বপ্ন কিন্তু আজকেও নাই, যখন আমরা বাংলাদেশে 50 বছরের সুবর্ণ জয়ন্তী পালন করছি। এবং অ্যাটাকটা হলো সেদিন যেদিন বঙ্গবন্ধুর জন্মবার্ষিকী। অতএব আজকে আপনাদের কাছে বলতে চাই যে anti-71 ফোর্সেস বা তাদের প্রেতাত্মা, এই কথা বললে হবে না। সরকারি দলের অভ্যন্তরে যে মুস্তাকিল লোকরা আছে, anti-71 ফোর্সেসের প্রেতাত্মারা আছে, এদেরকে এলিমিনেট করে আওয়ামী লীগকে যদি বঙ্গবন্ধুর আওয়ামী লীগে পরিবর্তন করা না যায়, এবং মুক্তিযুদ্ধের চেতনা বলতে ভোটের জন্য আমি মুক্তিযুদ্ধের চেতনার কথা বললাম, কিন্তু কার্যকারণে আমি মুক্তিযুদ্ধের শক্তির সাথে প্রত্যক্ষে পরোক্ষে গোপনে থাকলাম। এর মধ্য দিয়ে আর যাই হোক বঙ্গবন্ধুর স্বপ্নের বাংলাদেশ প্রতিষ্ঠিত হবে, এটি ভাববার পেছনে আজকে আর কোনো কারণ আছে বলে মনে করি না। আমরা যারা 71-এর মুক্তিযুদ্ধের চেতনায় বিশ্বাস করি, আপনাদের কাছে বলতে চাই, এটিকে আমরা হৃদয় দিয়ে ধারণ করি, এবং হৃদয় দিয়ে ধারণ করেছি বলেই আমাদের কথা একটাই, সামনে যাই থাক ট্রেন চলবে। আমরা এই সব হিপোক্রেসির কাছে আমরা কখনোই আমরা জান দেব, কিন্তু আমরা কখনো মাথা নত করব না। শাহরিয়ার ভাই যা বলেছেন, যে প্রস্তাবগুলো দিয়েছেন, সরকারগত নির্বাচনী ইশতেহারের আগে যে প্রতিশ্রুতিগুলো দিয়েছিল, মাইনরিটি প্রোটেকশন অ্যাক্ট এবং আপনার সংখ্যালঘু কমিশন, আমরা সংখ্যালঘু মন্ত্রণালয়ের দাবি তুলেছিলাম। এবং আমি আপনাদের কাছে এটা বলতে চাই যে বাংলাদেশ হিন্দু বৌদ্ধ খ্রিস্টান ঐক্য পরিষদ আগামী এপ্রিল মাস থেকে এই সব দাবি দাওয়াগুলো, রাজনৈতিক প্রতিশ্রুতিগুলো বাস্তবায়নের জন্য তারা জেলায় জেলায় সম্মেলন করবে, সফল করবে। আগামী ডিসেম্বরের দিকে ঢাকায় জাতীয় সম্মেলন করবে, এবং ইতিমধ্যে এই সিদ্ধান্ত নিয়েছে আগামী বছরের ফেব্রুয়ারি মাসের শেষের দিকে কোনো এক সময়ে গোটা বাংলাদেশ থেকে টুয়ার্ডস ঢাকা তারা লং মার্চ or road মার্চের আয়োজন করবে on this issue, including the acts of the conspirators group. ধন্যবাদ আপনাদের সবাইকে।
Advocate Rana Dashgupta, thank you very much for your case presentation and extremely analytical exposition of the issues. The takeaway, my personal takeaway from both of you, who know the best about the country and where the country is headed, is very frustrating. I hope Bangladesh can retain secular democracy, which will probably slightly help the issue at hand today, violence against women in Bangladesh in general. Thank you very much. Our speaker, Mr. Samad, is still muted. I cannot unmute him, probably because of a technical glitch. So I'll skip him and go to the next speaker, Ms. Chanchana Chakma. Ms. Chanchana Chakma has been an indigenous people's rights activist in Bangladesh for 2 decades. She is the member secretary and focal person of an organization called the Bangladeshi Indigenous Women's Network. She has apprised the international community of the existential threat facing the indigenous peoples of Bangladesh, and particularly the indigenous women of the Chittagong Hill Tracts and elsewhere. Ms. Chakma, may I request you to make your presentation?
Thank you very much for giving me chance to speak here. It's a great event and distinguished guests. Greeting from BIW, Bangladesh Indigenous Women Network. I'd like to share my presentation. Thank you. This is a great opportunity, and I'm very glad to have that with you, all of you. Actually, I would like to focus violence against indigenous women in Bangladesh. The context of we demand like 54 indigenous ethnic communities, all Bangladesh, approach 1.6 of the total population, and government sponsor like transmigration in Chittagong Hill Tracts. You know, every who are working here and in New York and other areas also. The 79 to 89 or 90, the 400,000 from plain land to Chittagong Hill Tracts. We call Chetala Bengal in the from the plain land. Actually, for that, we have lost our land. They occupy our land. That's why women become more vulnerable for that. And government also still doesn't recognize as indigenous people us in Bangladesh and constitution. They recognize us as minorities or a small ethnic group or disadvantaged people like that. And other ones is indigenous women, predominantly they live in the rural area, in remote area. You know that Chittagong Hill Tracts is very remote area, most of the area and other plain land also. Those some are living like town areas, area, but most of the indigenous women live in Bangladesh, remote areas. The most of the disadvantages and the vulnerable of the in terms of the socio-economy status, because most of the indigenous family are very poor and also not developed. And you know the Chittagong Hill Tracts, why the poor people? Because we have broken our economic backbone when 1954 to 60 because of due to the Kaptai Dam, we have lost our lot of land under the river, and also people migrated from Chittagong Hill Tracts to Mizoram. India. Now they live in Arunachal. Still, they didn't get the citizen. 1960, they displaced from and also internally also displaced, international displaced. Still, they didn't return their land, and that's why the women are very vulnerable, become very vulnerable. And another one is we are like facing multiple forms of the discrimination because of our sex or race and ethnicity, language, culture, religious, and also class, economic status, because of the economic status also. And indigenous women boys not actually included in the government policies and the legislation also. Women policy also, when they develop the women policy, that time also we have demand, we keep out different several sector for the indigenous women, but they didn't consult with us. That's why we have no separate sector as indigenous people. But for the disability or other women, they have a separate sector, separate sector. But we have no separate sector. That's why we cannot actually involve participation with the policy, and also they didn't call us. And another thing is indigenous women have to be actively participant, meaningful participant, but we cannot actually participate the policy making and other policies also. And violence against indigenous
আসলে আমার গেস্ট আর খাওয়া দাওয়া হচ্ছে এখন আমি আমি থাকতে পারবো না আমি সরি আমি খুলে রাখছিলাম আমি পারছি না সরি ও আরেকজন ফোন করতেছে আমাকে বাদ দেন এবারে আর কি বলে দেন
okay.
Let's continue. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. We have reported, like Capping Foundation and BIWN reported 2007 to 2020, 671 reported indigenous women between incident between this year, like 14th year. 2020, 59 incident January to September. Can you imagine? People are they're trying to how to good life, how to lively their good livelihood and other things. But we have to think how to protect us from the rapists or from who are the occupying land like that. Then the indigenous women are struggling for their life, and also because they have been violence from the perpetrator who are the especially land grabber in Chittagong hilltops and plainland. Most of cases are the sexual violence. Most victims are children and girls, and this is the classes where the rape, gang rape, and mother kill after rape. So that also, the one of the cases which is shot death of the women in Ruangsuri because military people fire the other people. Then that time the women have been died for the shot death. And physical assault, also molestation, attempt to rape, kidnap, sexual harassment, trafficking. We indigenous women also are having trafficking from the trafficker, and they are also internationally and nationally they are having trafficking. We have also rescue, we have a lot of cases. And this girl actually grade 5 to 28 July 2018, she was gang raped and killed after rape her, and it was really brutal rape because she was alone and she's innocent, but she have to die after the rape. This guy is the perpetrator. It's very crucial for us, and this is actually why I put there. Within the September 2020, 11 incidents of the violence against indigenous women and girls, including rape, gang rape, sexual harassment, and the abduction. And this incident, 11 indigenous women, adolescents have been the victim of the violence. Among them, 7 women and girls have been raped, and including 2 gang rape, and 4 women have been sexually harassment, beaten, and adopted. And other one is very shocking or brutal of the incident was the gang rape of the mentally disabled, mentally challenged indigenous women by 9 Bengali settlers in Khagrachuri. And also they have looted their valuable things from the house. And all 2020, all over the case, like 59 cases has been reported. It's very crucial for the indigenous people and indigenous women in Bangladesh. And another thing is you can see violence against indigenous women. Why injustice? Injustice because 671 cases, zero actually prosecute in the Chittagong Hill Tracts, especially they didn't get justice from and also only one cases we can see in Plainland 2013 have been the justice, but other cases, some cases didn't case file. Even I have been visited and investigation one cases we cannot case file in the police station because perpetrator was the military law enforcement. That's why this is main. And another thing is sometimes evidence have been corrupted. That's why they didn't get justice. And violence against indigenous women, why the problem? Because of the impunity of perpetrator, cultural impunity, and also prolonged and non-cooperative formal legal system and rural legal system. Also, we have in Chittagong Hill Tracts with traditional justice. And if anyone rape victim or rapist, we cannot actually do our traditional justice. We have to go the civil law, under the civil law. And another thing is ulterior motive of the uprooting indigenous people from their ancestral indigenous land, and also inadequate of the legal and the support of the victim, and lack of the legal awareness. Most of those who are victim, their family and victim, they don't know how to the process of legal systems and complex code or procedure, and also code of the environment, because code and also police station not the indigenous sensitive, not the indigenous gender sensitive. Some victim they cannot speak their Bengali. They can speak only Chakma or Marma or those who are indigenous, their local language, but they cannot speak Bengali. That is the problem. Sometimes they face problem, and the bias of corruption administration I mentioned before. From the hospital also sometimes we get negative report, but she has been raped and she after kill after rape also we get like negative report. This is the corruption also, and the lack of the systematic documentation and the monitoring of violence against women cases. And another very important thing is in Chittagong, especially in Chittagong Hill Tracts, non-implement CST Accord. We are demanding from long time fully implement CST Accord, but still no process for implement CST Accord. And employment, indigenous women are actually completely migrated from Chittagong Hill Tracts to Dhaka, Sabar, and EPZ of Chittagong city. Most of they are working with the factory, and they also face a lot of the problem, the garments worker, because they have wage discrimination, and sometimes they have faced because of their ethnicity or appearance, or like as a Sakma or as a Tripura, as a Burma, like that. And other things, the census of the education to the 1991 to the 2010. Actually, national policy now in this time they have adopted 5 languages, but still we have no accurate. Okay, we have no actually special teacher for that, and this time also especially we have no digital like Wi-Fi or smartphone. That's why they are out of like they cannot get access to education during the corona, and this is the actually hell most in this pandemic situation. Indigenous women are facing, those who are especially pregnant women and other women, they are facing a lot of problem because we have no in remote area, especially the community center in our area, but they have to come the city, and then they cannot sometimes reach the some are they are have been die on the way, and because of no desegregated data of indigenous women. um, okay, I'm going to finish, and I see the demand of the agenda showing me laws and policies. I mentioned where we have no include the laws and policies. This picture is in Longudu have an just I would like to just give me 2 minutes. I would like to recommendation some recommendation. We demanding the give constitution recognition to the identify as indigenous people, ensure the indigenous women representative and the partnership in all the aspects, including the parliament and the social local government bodies. Also, they ensure the indigenous women participation in all of the decision making, all of sector, all area. This time also CSW specific, they are give the important the decision making and meaningful participation, ensure the implementation CST accord and security, and women and peace security is very important in Chittagong Hill Tracts plan and for the indigenous women, and develop for the indigenous women and address the indigenous women issues in the process, all of the government process, and for the all special unit resolve the violence against indigenous women issues, including the taking of effective measures to the increase access to justice of indigenous women. I'm going to finish and also ensure the livelihood of indigenous women through their traditional indigenous economic practice. Thank you very much, Dizenda, for giving me time. Sorry, I take more time.
Thank you, Ms. Chakma. We are pressed of time. We have other speakers, but it was a very well articulated presentation of the situation. And your presentation was not only heard by our audience, but two most important people from Bangladesh, Advocate Dasgupta and Mr. Shahriar Kabir. You also had a chance to get their ears today. Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Ms. Priya Shah. Ms. Shah is the director of an NGO that serves the interest of socially disadvantaged in Bangladesh. She was one of the organizing secretaries of Bangladesh Hindu, Buddhist, and Christian Unity Council, and she is the editor of a community newspaper called the Dalit Kanto, meaning the voice of the disadvantaged. Ms. Shah, please make your presentation.
Thank you, distinguished panelists. Thank you, all of you, and giving me this opportunity. It's an august opportunity for me to share the Bangladesh, the women violence against women. My presentation in the topics, the headline is gender-based discrimination and violence against women in Bangladesh. First is what is the violence? All of you know that violence against women has many forms, including physical aggression or threat, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, controlling and intimidation, stalking, covert abuse, economic deprivation, legal discrimination. We have first, I will go in the two ways, the discrimination. One is the legal discrimination among the gender discrimination in the law, and the violence against women will be my second slide. The gender discriminatory law of minorities in Bangladesh. In Bangladesh, Hindu law applies to Jain, Buddhist, Sikh, and all indigenous community. And there is a different law for in the personal law. The Muslim have different law, the Christian community different law, and all other community have own law. So in the property inheritance right, the women of minority community, these three group do not have any property inheritance right, and polygamy is not legally prohibited, but socially this community are not have that much wife. And guardianship, we do not have the guardianship right for the minority, and the minority woman cannot adopt any children, or a girl child cannot be adoptee, and the minority woman and man, the divorce is not permitted. But by personal law, Christian community, the man and woman are equal. And gender discriminatory law in Bangladesh, the Muslim community, Muslim men can have 4 wives at a time, and they can divorce and get married as many as time they want. And the guardianship, the women do not have the guardianship. Limited time they get guardianship right for the girl child, but not for the boy child. And talak, yeah, after talak only, they are getting during the talak only their mohor. After that, any age, they can be divorced by their husband or wife, either way. But the practice of this talak in Bangladesh, making women very vulnerable, because women do not have that much opportunity for earning. The marriage registration is not mandatory, but there is an option for marriage registration. Inheritance right among the Muslim community, woman is a half of a man in all right. And you know, the violence against women, the most heinous thing is happening in Bangladesh, that is child marriage. Bangladesh is a home to 38 million child brides, 13 million married before age 15, and 5 to 10 children, child brides gave birth before age 18, and 8 to 10 gave birth before age 20. Sexual violence against the children through the law, existing law and practice. Bangladesh is the 10th among the 200 countries in the child marriage from the bottom side. And this is the graph of a violence against women and the rape case. You know, in 2015, it was so low, and you can find in 2020, the scenario, how the dramatically is changing. And among these gang rape, the gang rape child chart, here you can see only the 10-year, the gang rape is total 1,490, women was 1,290, children among this total raped, 1,264 was child. And this is a different scenario. I didn't bring the comparison report between the minority girl and the majority girl, because this is controversial. Then it will show different picture. I do not want to show that, but there is a different form of violence against the religion minority girl, that is the forced conversion. The number of violence in the blue bar and the forced conversion in the red bar. So you can easily understand. So when a minority girl is taken by a majority community boys, generally oftenly this year it was more than 2,600, and all of the law enforcing agency and the administration, political person, nobody in their general thinking, they don't think it's a crime. But They normally, when a minority girl rescued after 4, 5, 6 months, when she became pregnant, then only our law enforcing agency can find this girl. Then there is no way for this girl to go back to their parents' home. This is a very unfair situation going on the minority community. And you can see there is a bar for killing, it is a minority report, the killing, abduction, and gang rape. It's increasing manifold. In 2015, in the bar, you can see how the things is increasing day by day. As time is limited, so I just want to go why all these things is happening and increasing manifold, because the culture of impunity and huge backlog of cases. This judge of Supreme Court Appellate Division is burdened 3,373 cases. Can you imagine such a big populous country? We have only 8 Supreme Court judges right this moment. And case on average, and the total case in this division is 23,617. Is the pending case in the court. And the situation is worse in the High Court division of Supreme Court, whereas we have only 94 judges are loaded. More than everyone is more than 5,202 cases is on average. About 4,89,068 case is pending. So you can understand when this judgment will take place. We are improving many sectors in Bangladesh, but the judiciary system is a neglected one. So the system and the capacity of this judiciary system is not improving. A long time is due to do that. The culture of impunity in the huge case for the lower court. The lower court, you can see the every judge, we have only 1,890 judges in the lower court all over the country in the all sector together deal with the 3 million cases, 3,072,000 cases. Can you imagine how the country is going, the judiciary system of Bangladesh? And they do not have that much training opportunity. They do not have all other capacity for criminal investigation. There is, we have seen very few. The judiciary inquiry team was made for the Bangladesh for a special inquiry. Only the Shahabuddin Commission report was taken place after about the 2000 on violence against the community. And this case, he made a report, the Shahabuddin Commission report. There was a gazette, but government didn't do anything. Any action government didn't take about this Shahabuddin Commission report. So that we can understand when the millions atrocities taking place across the country and the Judiciary Commission report is not taken by the government in account, then what can be happened? How the people will, how the crime will be combated? Then the conviction rate, in 2000, only for the women cases in Nari Pokho, one of the women human rights organization, they have a study in 2011 to 2018. Only 5 out of 4,372 cases resulted in conviction. Only 3.56 case filed under Prevention of Oppression Against Women Children Act have ended up court. Only 37% have resulted in conviction. So so you can understand the situation of judiciary system and how the crime will be combated and why the criminal activity and violence against women, all this violence taking place, that is the main cause. The judiciary system is not functioning as they need to function. And there is some incident, the force, as you have time, a limited time, the forced conversion and after election, and this is the case in the Malopara, Abhaynagar. During the election, they wanted to vote for this present government for the vote, but they were mercilessly attacked by the communal force. But the trial and any type of failed government are not doing no help after the election. They are in power with this community vote, but they don't think they need to do anything for this victim. And this is the plight you can see after the violence. You all have seen the plight of Rohingya, how Rohingya community is coming to Bangladesh, and world is worried. And I am a person also worried. I shame on this Myanmar, but world never seen how the Bangladeshi minority community, they are leaving their homeland after after election, but during the election when atrocity taken place on this community. And abduction, forced conversion, this is another example. And there is some picture, I don't want to show this very sad face and tortured face. I feel very, very sorry, but I cannot do anything. And I have some recommendation for all these things happening against the women in Bangladesh. The reform all personal law to remove discriminatory features, especially polygamy, grant equal access to divorce man and woman, remove barriers to screening, maintenance, and create online centralized filing system for all gender-based violence cases and ensure that revealed case performed and report are freely available and accessible to all parties. Bangladesh justice system is failing women and girls with devastating consequences. Government should strengthen judiciary system to uphold rule of law, develop a stronger prevention mechanism, including through comprehensive education in school on consent, sexuality, relationship, media outreach, awareness raising campaigning for women and girls, including Nari o Shishu Nirjatan Ain, and review and reform family court to proceedings to eliminate delay and ensure that judge grant interim maintenance in eligible cases, strengthen social assistance program, the Convention of Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. You know, Bangladesh ratified this CEDAW on 1984, but still they have reservation on two articles, is 16.1c and Article 2.16, considered by the United Nations to be the core provide of the convention. So if there is injustice anywhere means threat to justice of everywhere. Thank you so much for hearing me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Shaha, for your data-rich presentation. The facts are mind-boggling. Thank you. Our next speaker is Mr. Shitangshu Guha. Mr. Guha is a former journalist, a columnist, and an author and a human rights activist who publishes a monthly magazine called Oikko, meaning unity. Mr. Guha, please make your presentation. And I know you have visuals. The screen sharing is on. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bhattacharya and Mr. Demal and all other co-hosts, as well as the all of you present today. Good morning. My topic is that use of rape as a lethal weapon in the campaign of religious and ethnic cleansing in Bangladesh. In Bangladesh, abduction of young girls from religious minority communities, indiscriminate rape, and conversion to Islam under threats are very rampant and used as lethal weapon in the campaign of religious and ethnic cleansing in Bangladesh. Oftentimes, the Islamic fundamentalists rape minority women, including underage girls, in front of their families. Many of the kidnapped girls have never been returned or rescued. Government has shown no inclination to act against these heinous crimes either. Most of the kidnapped women have been forcibly converted. Despite innumerable instances of kidnap and rape, the law enforcement has turned a blind eye on the issues and utterly fails to do anything to discourage the practice. Rape is a highly effective lethal tool. Hence, when rape occurs, the whole family fall victim to it, as the rape victims themselves become social outcasts along with their families. Please watch a 90-second video.
ওরা আমাকে এমন অবস্থায় যে হাতের উপর করে তুলে নিয়ে কেউ খামচাচ্ছে, কেউ জামা প্যান্ট টেনে খুলে ফেলছে।
Tangshuda, we couldn't see the video. Maybe you have to
প্রায় 200 গজ
switch to the
দূরে
screen.
You cannot see.
ঘাট, সেই শ্মশান ঘাটের
You cannot see the video.
আমাকে একটা
No, can you switch to the screen? Kind of tab yourself to switch to the screen. Yeah. No, actually,
Just a minute.
share your YouTube. Share your YouTube. When you click the YouTube, go ahead and share that, please.
No, just a minute. Something happened. So you did not see the video. You did not see the video.
No, we didn't.
Okay, let me try it again.
ওরা আমাকে এমন অবস্থায় যে
It's working?
হাতের উপর করে তুলে নিয়ে
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
কেউ খামচাচ্ছে, কেউ জামা প্যান্ট টেনে খুলে ফেলছে। আমাদের বাড়ি থেকে প্রায় 200 গজ দূরে শ্মশান ঘাট, সেই শ্মশান ঘাটের মাঝে আমাকে একটা পতিত খ্যাতির মধ্যে রেখে গণধর্ষণ করা হয়। কলিগদের সাথে ওই আইডিটা যুক্ত হয়ে গেছে, ওরা আপন মনে করে সেভ করেছে যে আমার কলিগ, সেই কারণে ওরা অ্যাকসেপ্ট করেছে। তখন আমাকে জিজ্ঞেস করছে, কে রে দোস্ত, তুই এরকম ভাবে নোংরা ছবি পোস্ট করছিস, তুই কি এগুলো করে খাস? স্কুল, কলেজ, ইউনিভার্সিটি, এই তিনটা জীবনে আমি ফেস করতে হয়েছে আমাকে। এগুলোর জন্য আমি রাস্তায় হাঁটতে পারি না। অনেকে আমাকে বলেছে এই সেই মেয়েটা, অনেকে আমাকে রাস্তায় পিছন থেকে চুরিয়ে মুঠি ধরেও মেরেছে। আমার লজ্জা, এটা বাংলাদেশের সমাজের লজ্জা।
Well, you saw a 90-minute video. Let me proceed. Okay, let me give a few quotes from the media. In 2003, July 21st, London Guardian wrote, "Rape and torture empty the villages." Jonakantha, February 17, 2002, an overwhelming 98.68% of the rape victims are minority. Daily Star, Dhaka, November 16, 2001, nearly 200 Hindu women were gang raped by Muslim men in Chor fashion, Bhola, in one night at a single spot. These three quotes are enough to understand the severity and the condition in which the non-Muslim girls are living in Bangladesh. Let me show you some slides again, some slides. This is Jenny Lunderstorm, a Denmark human rights activist. She wrote, gang rape is possibly one of the most cynical and heinous crimes, yet an effective tool in the form of personal punishment, frightening and destroying entire communities. Her concluding remarks were, there are certainly clear indications that may lead to the conclusion that those rapes could constitute genocide under ICC statute, Article 6B. I give credit to HRCBM for this because this is in their website also, and it is in the website of GHRD. She once had come to New York for one of her conference, and yes, I know this is painful what you are watching, but that is what Bangladesh is. Thank you very much for this. Let me go to my presentation again. I'm almost near to the conclusion. The Islamist perpetrators do these cruel and criminal acts on the minorities for 3 reasons. Number one, their dream to transform Bangladesh into a homogeneous or monolithic Islamic country. Number two, their greed for occupying minority-owned properties through forced abandonment. Number three, that they are driven by their ideologies of attaining behest or heaven for themselves and their 7 generations by converting non-Muslim to Muslims. Please note, rape carries severe social stigma in Bangladesh society and culture, where half of the population is illiterate, whose value system is shaped by the religious practice and popular beliefs and not by secular laws or international standards or rationalism. The victim families have no choice but to abandon their ancestral home to protect their honor and dignity or to escape the social wraths. Many a times, the families even abandon their own children, the rape victim. Those victims then are pushed to the brink of life. Some commit suicide, while others embrace their fates and tune to their transgressors by converting to Islam. Either way, the entire families get uprooted, and the Islamists have gleefully employed this proven and effective tactic time and again. There is no end to this time-tested ill tactic. Kindly use everything within your power to help these helpless women, girls in Bangladesh to survive in their ancestral homeland with honor and dignity. Thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Guha, words always, visuals always speak much louder than words. And thank you for a very visual rich presentation. Now, I have been alerted to the fact that we have only 6 minutes left and we have 3 more presenters and question and answer session. At this point, I turn to the chair to decide what to do.
I would like to see everybody speak at least a minute or 2 by themselves. We can bypass the QA and close that way, right?
So, Mr. Professor Chandan Sarkar, Executive Director of a human rights organization called Research and Empowerment Organization, could you please squeeze your presentation into a 1-minute presentation? We have like 5 minutes left for 3 people. Thank you.
Thank you very much for giving me opportunity to speak something in this violation against Romans. So I'm just, I think, as economics, I'm always talking about with the facts and figures. To start here, for you see in our Muslims and Hindu population statistics in 1974 and 2011 was the last census. Muslims population has increased 229. But you see, if you consider the growth rate, fertility rate, replacement ratios, then Hindus must be 31.66 millions. But you see, we are only for now 11.9, so 18.97 millions are missing. Either they kill, convert, or forced to leave this country. This is the reality in Bangladesh. And here you see Hindus, 2000, I have a statistics from 2015 to 2020s. You see kill, houses, and then land grabs and wanted. And here, killing, abductions, and gang rape. You see, from 2015, we have data is a long period of time, but I use only for 5 years here. So killing, increased 18 times more from 2015 to 2020. A number of violations and forced conversions also, 200 times more from 2015 to, so alarming, is increasing many-folded. And this is actually our topics today, violence against the Hindus in Bangladesh. I'm just using, there is a Facebook. You see, there is a tools now used to attract the Hindus. And who is the mostly affected? Mostly affected in the female. You see, they make the Facebook rumor, fake news, and then attacked on the Hindus. 3 days before, that was in a Sunamganj. And you see 88 families and 8 temples demolished. And what happened first is a Juman Das, his wife actually, Shuti Das, is the first targeted to save her minor. She just came and gave all the ornaments, even 43,000 money to save her. So all our females are affected. Male somehow escaped, but female are the main target and affected. Same in Muradnagar, fake news, rumors, and they come and attack the minorities affected mostly in the female. Here, I'm just sharing only for a 1 or 2 slide because time only for a few, maybe for a few seconds left. Mithun, there is another you see, and students, they just rumor and then wrote anything on Facebook, then and there they fire. They are not to just check out, but authority now ready for that. Without any checking, without any justification or cross check, they fire. Use Mithun Mondal even for a Tithi Sarkar from the good reputed institute. So one agenda brainless, that is and Hindus will be that is the affected, that is their main agenda. Same here. And you started from 2012 from Ramu to now is a 2021 at the Sunamganj, is same fate, affected only in the females. And what are the main actually, reason? And reason actually you see, women, one questions why the women actually torture, and especially for minorities. They tortures easy to grab their land and property. And you see society, socially they humiliated in a tortured family, and what they have to, society are not to accept them. And ultimately they have to leave this country to anywhere or maybe convert. So that is the main actually agenda. Intentionally they are doing so that minority will be declining from our countries. So this is the one. Ranada also mentioned sex actually uses, this is not a sexual assault, this is actually a sexual incubation. So they just use as a tools to zero to minorities, Hindu especially from Bangladesh. I'm showing one thing, she's a rape victim. If she was a raped, her name is Papi, she was raped in 2015, and two actually boy Farid and Tamim's raped her. Now she is just, we just helping, and then she is doing this, we are helping for them. And this is actually Rohingyas, and maybe time has off. So I'm not to just, I think, to continue. I'm just, I think, kept and then shut down here. And then I am just telling only one line with a few seconds. See, if the government treated as a stepson, so what you have to do? But still there is a hope. Like Ranada here and other peoples are here, public awareness and international bodies like all of the your good people here and United Nations, if they just, I think, unitedly is their voice. I hope that is the will be a change, because I'm an optimistic person. Anyway, thank you very much and give me opportunity to speak. Thank you, the organizers. Thanks. Thank you very much.
Sarkar, our next speaker is Mr. Pula Ghatak. Mr. Ghatak, you have 1 minute to apprise us of your concern.
Thanks. Many thanks to the host and the panelists. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. I understand that I have only 1 minute, so I will have to finish it anyhow. Just I would like to compare the incident of two activists, Mithun Mandal and Tithi Sarkar, mentioned just a few seconds ago. In the case of Tithi Sarkar, who went missing, the student of Jagannath University, something happened. But when someone is posting something on Facebook about Tithi Sarkar, he is using the words, I will rape you, I will teach you, I will fuck you. But that was not the case for Mithun Mandal. That means minorities are a target, but when the individual is woman, she is specially targeted, and this target is, the means of this target is cyber world. I was supposed to deliver my speech on cyber crime against women, and the time is very short. I am just mentioning that at present, a total number of mobile SIM users reached 170 million in Bangladesh, and 103 million people are using internet. This is a good thing, but it has been added to the risk of women, particularly daughters of the minorities in Bangladesh, in the absence of effective legal protection from cyber crimes against women. Women of all ages are regular victims of cyber crimes, though the women aged between 16 to 24 are mostly targeted. IGP Benjir Ahmed recently said that 83% women of Bangladesh are becoming victims of cyber crimes regularly. Digital or online crimes are gradually causing havoc in the society with various negative impacts on families and youth particularly. And there are numerous cases of suicide also. Crimes. One is cyber stalking. I am not going to elaborate it. Then cyber harassment, that is unwanted sexually explicit emails, texts, messages, inappropriate or offensive advances on social networking websites or inherent chat rooms, threats of physical and sexual violence by email, text that I have already mentioned. Hate speech. I have mentioned earlier the case of hate speech in the case of Arita. Just look at the comments on our leader Priya Shah. Just look at the Facebook and YouTube comments. Ravish, just she's being targeted as a woman, not only a Hindu, as a woman also. Hate speech against women often uses very particular and distinctive language with sexual undertones, including slut shaming, body shaming, the use of terms like bad woman, non-consensual pornography, also known as cyber exploitation or revenge porn. It involves the online distribution of sexually graphic photographies or videos without the consent of individual in the images. The perpetrator is often an ex-partner who obtains images or videos in the course of a prior relationship and aims to publicly shame and humiliate the victim. In retaliation of ending a relationship, I am not going to elaborate it. It will take time. I am just going to conclude. We have 3 laws to protect us in the cyber world. The number 1 is Digital Security Act. The number 2 is already only 4 provisions have been stopped. Information and Communication Technology Act of 2006, Pornography Control Act, and Telecommunication 2001, Telecommunication Act. These laws are to protect us from cyberbullying or cyber offense against women. But in reality, the number one case, the number one law, the Digital Security Act, it aims to control the voice of people, to control the voice of particularly of the minority people. There are numerous videos in YouTube insulting Hindu religion, Hindus, and there I can show you a video that a learned preacher of Islam is telling that there is no sin to grab assets of Hindus. These videos are rampant in the cyber world, but no actions are taken against them. But your voice is curtailed, and your voice is very dangerous one, which is very explicit in many incidents. When you are going to criticize against any harmful activities, you are being targeted. And I would like to conclude here. আমি একেবারে একটা কথা বাংলায় বলি, একেবারেই শুনে রাখেন। যতক্ষণ পর্যন্ত না সরকার হেফাজতে ইসলামের উপর তাদের দুর্বলতা পরিত্যাগ না করবে, ততক্ষণ পর্যন্ত বাংলাদেশ ভয়াবহ বিপদের মধ্যে আছে। সবকিছুর পরেও মূল কথা হচ্ছে তালেবানি ফোর্স বাংলাদেশকে দখল করে নিতে চাচ্ছে এবং এই সময়ে এটা আরো বেশি প্রবল। সবাইকে ধন্যবাদ।
Thank you so much, Mr. Ghatak, for your beautiful presentation. This brings us to the last speaker, Mr. Arun Datta, Executive Director of the Global Hindu Coalition Canadian Chapter. Mr. Datta.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Dijan Bhattacharjee. I mean, our Sankorda. Thank you, Ranadas Gupta. Thank you, HRCBM and the organizers, Priya Shaha, Utsav, and Mr. Chaudhary, and all the panelists and participants. Thank you very much for organizing such a wonderful meeting. Everybody spoke everything. I believe nothing is left. Still, I'll talk something with the solutions. There is no point to talk about the problems. Everybody knows the problems. We all know the problems, and we need the solution now. So I'll say precisely about the solutions. I can request Amadir Shraddheyo Dada, Ranadas Gupta, respected Ranadas Gupta, the Secretary General of Hindu Buddha Christian ঐক্য Parishad, in collaborating with all other Hindus and some progressive Muslims like Shahriar Kabir, Salim Samad, Sultana Kamal, if you can form a party for minorities in Bangladesh, then we can fight politically. There is no other options left, and destructive options are there. There is no point ask for justice to Bangladesh government. Under the leadership of Hasina, the pro-independent party in power, and Bangladesh is becoming Afghanistan. And there is no way that anybody can stop it, because this government did not take any step so far to stop them. And this government did not take any step to protect its minorities. I believe they lost their credibility to rule the country anymore. If they cannot protect their citizens, they don't have any right to rule the country. They should resign immediately. There is no point that these are the better government than any other government. No, this is a nonsense issue, nonsense comments that they are better than anybody. No, if you cannot protect your people, you don't have any right to rule the country anymore. So please resign immediately. And our second solution is enough is enough. We cannot take it anymore. Either give us the full protection under the leadership of forming a new party so that we can get the protection, or give us free passage to go to any other country, especially in India, exchange the population with India. We want to go, most of the people will go to India. We demand exchange of population. And if it is not possible even, then give us our land back. This is the only solution. We don't want to bother you anymore, and we don't need to be bothered. Give our land back and let us live peacefully. We are peace-loving people. But if we have to do that, we have to do that. In 1971, Bangladesh got independence with the help of India. It was because 1 crore Hindu people displaced and went to India take shelter in the refugee camp, suffered like anything. And this is the main reason Bangladesh get independence in 9 months under the leadership of Indira Gandhi. So either exchange the population or give our land back. There's nothing else is left. No need to talk to anybody. We know nothing gonna happen. We are talking. Everybody is talking about it. Even international authorities started talking about it. Bangladesh government don't take any action. So we cannot depend on them anymore. This is the only way we can solve this issue. Thank you very much. Thank you for organizing. Thank you
Mr.
all to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Datta. Thank you. Our issue today was violence against women in Bangladesh. What we heard from our speakers is not only that issue, but also the general issue facing Bangladesh, which is the country is headed down the road to Talibanization again that we witnessed is 2001, but it's a altogether separate issue. Now, we are running over time, but I have so many questions and I see Advocate Rana Dashgupta here. So may I ask Advocate Rana Dashgupta, 2 questions back to back, and if you can answer them in 1.5 minutes. One of the questions is from Dr. Omolendu Chatterjee, and another is from Mr. Rishikesh Bhaumik. The question is it true that Bangladesh government is giving extra privileges to the minorities, especially to the women, with respect to hiring them for positions in civil service, police forces, etc.? The second question from Rishikesh Bhaumik is, since the members of parliament from the minority community never opened their mouth about minority persecution in Bangladesh, why not go for a separate electorate? Advocate Rana Dashgupta, and ladies and gentlemen, I take leave here. After him, the chair will make his concluding remarks. Thank you very much for cooperating with us. Thank you.
ধন্যবাদ। বাংলায় বলছি, উত্তরগুলো বাংলায় দিচ্ছি। প্রথম যে প্রশ্নটি করেছেন যে আমাদের চাকরি বাকরির বা নিয়োগ পদোন্নতির ক্ষেত্রে আগের থেকে ইকুয়াল পজিশন রয়েছে কিনা, এটা যদি আমরা লক্ষ্য করি তাহলে যে নিয়োগ পদোন্নতির ক্ষেত্রে আগে যে
I think we lost Rana Dasgupta.
I think so. Let's see, let's wait for a second until we get cut off, maybe. Somehow we lost his microphone connection.
I think it's internet connections.
I think so.
Yeah, we lost him.
We lost him.
যে কথাটি বলছিলাম যে আমাদের আপনাদের সবার একটি ভূমিকার কারণে নিয়োগ পদোন্নতির ক্ষেত্রে খানিকটা দৃশ্যমান অগ্রগতি হয়েছে। আবার দুঃখের সাথে বলতে চাই, এই অগ্রগতির ফলে যারা বেনিফিটেড হচ্ছে তারা কিন্তু কমিউনিটির দিকে ফিরেও তাকান না। অনেকে আবার চরমভাবে দুর্নীতিগ্রস্ত হয়ে তারা কিন্তু দেশ থেকেও পালিয়ে যান ইত্যাদি করছেন, এবং এর ফলে মাইনরিটিসদের ওভারঅল মাইনরিটি কমিউনিটির ক্ষেত্রেও এক ধরনের আপনার নেগেটিভ একটা নেতিবাচক ভাবমূর্তিও কিন্তু একই সাথে আমরা লক্ষ্য করছি। এটা হচ্ছে 2 নম্বর হলো যে যেটা বলেছেন আমি বুঝতে পারি না, ঋষিদা কি বলেছিলেন? ঋষিদার প্রশ্নটা কি ছিল?
Well, the second question was, since the MPs, minority members of parliament, never opened their mouth about minority persecution in Bangladesh, what's the point of sending them to parliament? Why not have a separate electorate, in which case they will not be dependent on Awami League or any other party who may nominate them. They will then be able to speak for their people who nominated them.
এই প্রশ্নের জবাবে বলতে চাই 1980 সালে যখন ঐক্য পরিষদটি গঠিত হলো তখন পার্লামেন্টের মেম্বার ছিল 2 জন। আজকে পার্লামেন্টের মেম্বার কিন্তু 21 জন। কিন্তু এই পার্লামেন্টের মধ্যে সুধাংশু এবং সুরঞ্জিতদার পরে আমরা আর কোনো পার্লামেন্ট মেম্বার দেখতে পাচ্ছি না যে যারা মাইনরিটি ইস্যুগুলো নিয়ে প্রবলেমস গুলো নিয়ে পার্লামেন্টের ভিতরে কথা বলছেন। এটা বাস্তব। তবে অতি সাম্প্রতিক কালে দিনাজপুরের এমপি মনোরঞ্জনশীল গোপাল কিন্তু এই সরস্বতী পুজোর সময় যে কিছু ইনসিডেন্টস হয়েছিল এগুলোর উপর ইট ইজ ফর দ্য ফার্স্ট টাইম যে গোপাল এই ব্যাপারে ভয়েস করেছে ইনসাইড দি পার্লামেন্ট, এবং আমরা মনে করি এটি একটি ইতিবাচক উদ্যোগ। তবে আমাদের একটি ভূমিকা আমরা পালন করতে চাইছি, সেটা হচ্ছে টাইম টু টাইম মাইনরিটি পার্লামেন্ট মেম্বারদের সাথে আলাপ আলোচনার মধ্য দিয়ে তাদেরকে পার্সু করা, যে যাতে তারা আরো একটি ইতিবাচক ভূমিকা পালন করতে পারে। আর আমরা উপলব্ধি করতে পারছি না যে যদি 21 জনের এই লবিটা তারা যদি ইনসাইড দি পার্লামেন্ট তারা যদি ভূমিকা পালন না করে, বাইরে থেকে আমরা যতই আন্দোলন করি না কেন সমাধানের জায়গাটা হচ্ছে পার্লামেন্ট। তারা যদি ভয়েস না করে সেখানে তো আমাদের করার কিছু নাই। আমরা আবার বিকল্প ভাবে, যেমন ধরেন গতকালকে আমরা মাননীয় স্পিকারের কাছে স্মারকলিপি দিয়ে বলেছি 1975-এর 15ই আগস্টের আগে যেভাবে আমাদের সংসদের অধিবেশন গুলো শুরু হতো সেভাবে অধিবেশন শুরু সব ধর্মগ্রন্থ থেকে পাঠের মাধ্যমে শুরু। স্পিকারের কাছে গিয়ে আমরা কিন্তু স্মারকলিপি দিয়েছি। এর আগেও আমরা প্রেস কনফারেন্স আদার্স তুলেছি। প্রশ্ন হচ্ছে এই কাজটি তো আমাদের না, এই কাজটি তো ছিল 21 জন পার্লামেন্টের মেম্বার। মাঝে মাঝে আমাদেরও মনে হয় এই যে আমরা বলছি যে সর্বত্রই আমাদের অংশীদারিত্ব প্রতিনিধিত্ব গুলো বাড়ানো দরকার, মাঝে মাঝে আমরাও মনে করি, এটা দুঃখের সাথে বলতে চাই, প্রতিনিধিত্ব বেড়ে সংখ্যালঘু সম্প্রদায়ের লাভটা কি হচ্ছে এটাও আমি কিন্তু এখন আর উপলব্ধি করতে পারি না বিং অ্যান অ্যাক্টিভিস্ট। কারণ তারা নির্বাচনের আগে তারা কিন্তু ঘুরঘুর করতে থাকে, কিন্তু হয়ে যাওয়ার পরে তারা খুব একটু সংখ্যালঘুর বিষয়গুলো কিছু যদি বিবেচনা করতো তাহলে একটা সান্ত্বনা পেতাম যে আমাদের আপনাদের নিরবিচ্ছিন্ন যে কার্যক্রমগুলো আমরা গত 3 দশক কাল ধরে চালিয়ে আসছি এবং কিছু কিছু বেনিফিট যেটা আমরা অর্জন করেছি অংশীদারিত্ব প্রতিনিধিত্বের ক্ষেত্রে এটা খানিকটা হলেও পজিটিভলি রিফ্লেক্টেড হতে পারত। তবে এখনো পর্যন্ত আমরা এই জায়গাটি করতে পারি। এবং সেখানে আরেকজন আছে মহিলা বাসন্তী চাকমা। বাসন্তী চাকমা কিন্তু হিলেদের ক্ষেত্রে সে একটা ভোকাল অবস্থান তার আমরা ইতিমধ্যে লক্ষ্য করেছি। এই দুজন ছাড়া মনোরঞ্জনশীল গোপাল রিসেন্টলি এন্ড বাসন্তী চাকমার সংরক্ষিত মহিলা আসনে সে কিন্তু হিলি পিপলদের তাদের যে প্রবলেমস গুলো এগুলো কিন্তু ইতিমধ্যে পার্লামেন্টে ভেন্টিলেট করেছে। এবং আমি তাদেরকে আপনাদের মাধ্যমে আমি তাদেরকে ধন্যবাদ জানাতে চাই অনলি ফর দ্যাট। আপনারাও ভাবেন কি করতে পারি আমরা দেশের ভেতরে বসে, আপনারা আমাদেরকে সাজেশন দেন and we'll proceed accordingly.
Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Advocate Rana Dashgupta. Mr. Chair.
Yes, please.
Your concluding remarks.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Bhattacharya. Dear speakers and guests, this is really painful to take. On behalf of HRCBM, I would like to thank you all for taking part in this important event. One of the key agendas of CSW65 is the elimination of violence against women and girls globally. Dear speakers, you have highlighted important facts about ongoing violence against women and girls in Bangladesh, specifically minority women and girls, which is a matter of serious concern. We will compile today's discussion in a report and submit to the government of Bangladesh. various UN bodies, including UN Human Rights Council and other international institutions. Additionally, today's session will be available online as on demand, which would be cast at Facebook and YouTube as well. Furthermore, we will initiate conversation with the government of Bangladesh and other international institutions to find way to uphold rule of law and eliminate violence against women and girls in Bangladesh. And if that doesn't work, we will file a prosecution investigation at the International Criminal Court, which allows now NGOs to file for it, and will do so if we could not find domestic remedies in Bangladesh to eliminate violence against minority women and girls in the country. Again, I thank you for your cordial participation. We are obliged by your presence and looking forward to working with you to bring about the changes required in state instruments to eliminate violence against women and girls in Bangladesh. Back to you, Dr. Bhattacharya.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for participating in this important event. And this brings us to the end. Thank you.
Jamendo.com.